Hi everyone, I'm Alexandra Amore and I'm here today with Jen Blood. Hi Jen.
Hi, Alexandra.
How are you today?
I'm great. I'm very excited to be here.
Oh good, I'm so happy to have you here. So I'm going to give everyone a bit of introduction about you. Let me just find my document. Jen is the author of the best-selling Erin Solomon mysteries. Jen Blood taps into a background in freelance journalism in the heart of mid-coast Maine to write mysteries rich with atmosphere, action, romance, character, and serpentine plots. Her award-winning series has been hailed by critics and readers alike for its sharp wit and well-drawn characters, with all of her novels to date hitting multiple bestseller lists in mystery, suspense, and thrillers. And yes, Jen Blood is her real name, because that was my first question when I started looking into you. I thought, oh, that can't be real, but it is.
It is.
Yeah, that's awesome. So as I mentioned just before the call, I read the first book of the Erin Solomon series over the Christmas holidays and just loved it. So tell us, maybe just give us a bit of background about Erin, and where this story starts, and then I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Sure. Well, basically, the story starts in Erin has just. Basically, Erin Solomon is an investigative journalist, and she decides, for a variety of reasons, to return to her hometown to investigate a crime that's basically haunted her for her whole life, or for most of her life, which is an alleged cult suicide that happened when she was 10. And the reason it's haunted her is because her father was actually a member of this religious community, and he was the only survivor aside from herself, though she was no longer a member at that point. And so it's a small Maine town, and the religious community had been on an island off the coast of Maine. And so basically, Erin kind of goes back to this place and really starts to delve into her own past and her memories of this island and what actually happened, and trying to figure out and piece together all that happened.
Right. Yeah. And here's the reason I connected with it so much. Apart from the amazing writing and the sort of just the great characters. I just loved Erin so much. I'll talk about her in a minute. Um, I was in a cult for 10 years in the 1990s. It was here in Vancouver. And so when I started reading the plot, I just thought, oh my goodness. And so one of my questions is, were you ever involved in a cult? Like, what made you choose that plot point?
I was never actually involved in a cult, but I grew up. My early years were in a Pentecostal church, and so there was certainly that element. And I think that those formative years and kind of seeing the sort of intensity of that experience for so many people who were members of the church was very. It was a strong experience for me.
Okay.
And so I was always very interested in that, and kind of from there had done a lot of research into religious extremism and fundamentalism and all of those different elements. And that was really kind of where it's rooted. And so a little bit with angels, and then with books further on, I sort of explore that fundamentalist tie-in a little bit more, and especially in the third book.
Okay, yeah. Because I was just so impressed with, there were so many things where you just nailed it exactly what it's like, to
Oh,
be in that
nice.
kind of group. And in fact, I've got my iPad here and I highlighted something while I was reading. There's a section in, I don't know what chapter we're in here, but um, where you say, in Waco, the pressure from the government was the final straw. A visit from Senate investigators set Jonestown into motion. So for people who don't know, yeah, a visit from senators down to Ghana, which is where they were, sort of started the whole firestorm that set that thing in motion. The Solar Temple had been preaching the same dogma since their inception. And so then you go on to say that there wasn't really anything like that with the fictional church that you're talking about in the book. And so the question is, what would cause this event to happen, this mass suicide that happens in the narrative. And so when you were investigating cults and that kind of thing, were you doing that as part of because you were an investigative journalist as well? Were you doing that as part of other stories that you wrote, or you've talked a little bit about it so far? It came from your Pentecostal growing up. Did you follow up? I guess I have a million questions.
Yeah. Okay. I did so much research into this. Okay. I became really fascinated with it, and I started writing this in 99, I believe, in 1999 or 2000. So it took me a really long time to get that first book written.
Yeah.
And so I spent a lot of time really researching the different cults that are out there, and the mass suicide, and really just not just the mass suicide, but the religious communities where nothing cataclysmic happens. It's just that they're out there, and some of them are benign, and some of them are a little more malevolent, and kind of looking at that and trying to be what I really went into the series trying to do was not be judgmental and drag my own perspective on all of this into it. I really wanted to look at it as, as with everything, there are extremes, and then there are things that happen every day, and it's the norm for some people, and so kind of looking at that.
Right, yeah, and that was one of the things that I really noticed about this book, was that I could feel, in a way, your empathy toward the people who are involved in this church, and also perhaps that understanding that it's when someone is involved in a cult, it's not hell, like from morning to night. There are elements of it that are positive, and those are the things that enable people to stay. That's why people stay a lot of the time.
Exactly.
Because it's not all awful. So I thought that was incredibly interesting that you tied in that kind of a story. Exactly. And then the other thing I loved was Erin. She, I was thinking about her afterwards. She's such a great character because she's intelligent, and I love her relationship with Einstein, her dog, of course. Mm-hmm. And you're a big dog lover as well. Oh, yeah. I know. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she's on a mission to figure this thing out, the mystery, and very capable, like I said, very intelligent. And she's also a bit of a hot mess. Which I just loved. She wasn't a cardboard character. Like, her relationship with her mother is kind of a disaster, and so talk a bit about her. Like, how much is she like you? Is she not the hot mess part?
Yeah. It turns out that she's a lot more like me than I originally thought. I didn't think that she was, but then my brother actually told me, I think over Christmas, that he basically thinks of Erin as my shadow self.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And I'm not as hot-headed, and she says a lot of things that I may think, but I certainly, I don't usually say, and I think I've got a better handle on things in general. But her character came to me when I was an undergrad. I wrote a short story, and it was about this character who came home after a divorce, and really was just kind of trying to piece her life together. And it literally, I think it's maybe 2,000 words, and it's about her getting a haircut. Oh, okay. But that character just, she made such an impression on me just with that one thing. I really started to want to spend more time with her and find a vehicle that would be strong enough to carry her.
Oh, okay.
And so that's where it came in.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And do you think Erin has taught you anything? I always wonder that when authors are so close to their main character. Is there anything you've learned from her?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think absolutely. I mean, she sorry, it's Killian is back.
No.
Having a fit.
Yeah, it's perfect.
He'll stop. But yeah, I think that with Erin, she really does have a journey that she goes on from books 1 through 5.
Yeah.
And there's a very clear arc that I kind of love about her.
Mm.
And so I think that she, kind of watching the way that she matures and comes to this sort of understanding of who she is and a reconciliation of her own, I mean, basically her weaknesses, the things that she struggles with.
Mm-hmm.
I think definitely kind of taught me a little bit about being more forgiving of my own shortcomings and that kind of thing. And so, and I mean, the other thing is how much people loved that character. And that was nice, because I mean, a lot of the stuff about Erin is not pretty stuff. She's got some dark stuff, and the fact that people were as open and as welcoming to that was a nice sort of reminder that you don't have to be, all of your sides don't have to be so pretty all the time for people to still embrace you.
Yes. Yeah. Great point. Oh, that's so great. Yeah. She is so multifaceted. And yeah. The other thing I loved about the book too was the setting. So setting is always a big deal for me when I'm writing. And you, as we've said, set these books in mid-coast Maine. And although I think the second one, does it go over to the west coast of?
The second one is actually in northern Maine.
In northern Maine.
So,
oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't started it yet. And the ocean and the fog and the rain, and it was all so atmospheric, and that must be important to you too.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I grew up in mid-coast Maine. I know this area really well, and love this area. I have a really strong connection to it, and love the people, and so that absolutely helped. And then, I mean, I grew up absolutely loving like the Gothic mysteries and stuff, and the Gothic romance where there's that mystery element in there. So like Daphne du Maurier and Victoria Holt and all of those, I just absolutely loved when I was junior high to high school. That was a big thing for me. And so setting, definitely, that's such a strong element in those works, and I really saw that as a character in the books I'm writing now. Yeah.
And I guess Maine kind of lends itself a little bit to some of the Gothic stuff because of the fog and the rain and the ocean, and
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And so because you were an investigative journalist, do you do a lot of research for your books, and do you enjoy that?
Yeah, and I mean, I was a reporter. I was never necessarily an investigator. I mean, I did some research and stuff, but I don't know that I was necessarily technically an investigative journalist. Okay. But it was always what I wanted. I wanted to do that, and sort of realized that the problem with investigative journalism is you have to sort of be honest about things and stick to facts, and sometimes facts are kind of boring.
Right. So, yes.
I'm just going to go with fiction.
Yeah.
So yes, but I love the research aspect of things. I have to sort of discipline myself not to get completely lost in that aspect. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot of fun. I love learning, and especially in this day and age where information is just at your fingertips. It's a wonderful thing. So, yeah.
Oh, that's great. And then another thing I really enjoyed about the book was the sort of the little bit of romance or relationship stuff that's going on between Erin and Diggs, her childhood friend, and then is it Jack, the other fellow?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who's new to her, and also a little bit mysterious, because there's some stuff, I won't give anything away, but there's some stuff that goes on at the end of the first book with Jack where you kind of wonder what's going on there. And you mentioned, I think in your bio somewhere I saw that, again, the Gothic novels influenced you a little bit to weave a bit of relationship stuff through your mystery novels, and that was something I really liked. I really felt bad for Diggs, I have to say. He's kind of I felt a lot of sympathy for him.
Yeah, he 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 kind of has his hands full with Erin a lot of the time.
Yeah,
So
he sure does.
she's yeah, but I think throughout the series you kind of get to know him a little bit better and know their history a little bit more, and um what I like as that plays out, again without spoilers or whatever, is that you do get a better sense of the fact that the relationship is actually pretty balanced in terms when you look at what's come before for the two of them, and kind of the other side of things for them.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And you have a little a prequel. Is it like a short novel? And is it from Diggs's point of view?
It is, yeah,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's a full length novel that is from Diggs' perspective, and that's Midnight Lullaby that just came out a little while ago.
Okay.
And yeah, he proved to be very popular from the start with readers, and was, I mean, with the first draft of the novel, Diggs was a guy named Danny who was actually the villain. He was the bad guy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the more I got to know him, the more that just didn't work for me. And and he just won't. He just never shuts up in my head. He's always got things to say, and I really like that voice. And so I came up with the idea for Midnight Lullaby a while ago, and yeah, I tried to tell it from Erin's perspective, and it's not her story. It really is Diggs' story.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Oh, that must have been fun to explore a story from somebody else's point of view.
yes, definitely. Yeah, I love doing that.
Yeah. Oh, good. And the Erin Solomon series has 5 books. And are you going to continue writing, which are complete, right? They're all out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, here's the problem.
Okay.
It was meant to be a 5-book series, and then I wrote the prequel, but then people kept sort of clamoring for more of Erin, and yeah, I came up with other ideas, and so there actually will be more Erin Solomon. There's a complete arc from books 1 to 5. It's kind of a serialized mystery in those 5, within those 5 books.
Yeah.
And but beyond that, there will be more Erin Solomon mysteries that are going to be standalones rather than larger arc.
Part of that larger arc, yeah.
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 So I am, I have one of those that I'm working on, but I'm also working on a new series about a character that's introduced in Sins of the Father, and so she's going to carry a new series herself, and it's about, she's a trainer of search and rescue dogs.
Oh, neat. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been working on that quite a bit recently, and so that's the endeavor that I'm working on right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And another one of the things I liked about the first book in the Erin Solomon series is that by the end of the book, a lot of the questions are answered, but more are opened up. And so, as you say, there is kind of this arc over all 5. Which is a really nice thing to be able to sink one's teeth into, and really follow these characters on this long journey. So I look forward to doing that. Yeah.
Excellent.
And had you planned it that way right from the beginning? I mean, you were working on it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I just because there are things in it that follow. The mystery is so tightly entwined in those 5 books that there are clues in book 1 that help to solve the ultimate mystery in book 5. Okay. So I really needed to be pretty clear on what that arc was and what was happening throughout, so that I could weave it in each of the novels.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah. And we should mention too that the first book, All the Blue-Eyed Angels, is available for free, so that you can download it from all the different online bookstores at no risk.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Well, this has been so awesome, Jen. Thank you so much for connecting with me today and talking a bit about your books. And so tell people where they can find more information about you.
Sure. The best place really is just to go straight to the website, and that's jenblood.com. And that's where links to all of the books, information about all of them, and then there right now actually I'm offering you can get the whole starter library, which actually includes Midnight Lullaby, free by signing up at the website. So that's a good place to go.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Oh, cool. All right. Well, thanks again so much and take care.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.